In the thick of World War II's absolute biggest tank battle, a story was born that, honestly, sounds more like a myth than something that actually happened. We're talking about a single, unstoppable predator against a whole tide of steel. So let's dive right into this crazy account from the Battle of Kursk and see if we can separate the legend from the reality.
So the legend goes that one German Tiger tank, in just one fight, knocked out a jaw-dropping number of Soviet tanks. I mean, some versions of the story even push that number over 50. But is that for real? Did that actually happen? Well, that's the big question we're tackling today.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's July 8th, 1943. We're on the Eastern Front, right in the middle of the Battle of Kursk, the single largest clash of tanks the world has ever seen. Just try to picture it. A landscape just torn to shreds, choking on smoke, with thousands of tanks locked in this brutal, chaotic dance of death. This is the hellscape where our story begins. To really get a handle on this legend, we first have to see it the way the Germans told it. And for them, this wasn't some desperate struggle. No, it was a hunt. A clinical, efficient hunt. And their Tiger tank? It was the apex predator. The man at the center of it all is Unterscharführer Franz Staudegger. And here's the thing, he wasn't even supposed to be there. He'd actually fallen behind his unit because of a busted suspension. But now, as he's peering through all that smoke and haze, he spots his prey. And his weapon? Oh, it was the stuff of nightmares for Allied tankers. The Tiger's high-velocity 88mm cannon. This thing could punch right through the armor of most enemy tanks from a kilometer away, maybe even more. It was a technological terror on the battlefield. You know, the German account paints a picture of Staudegger's mindset as just cold confidence. He sees the Soviet tanks, and they look totally disorganized, firing at trenches, completely oblivious to the real danger lurking nearby. For him, it's the perfect opportunity. And so the hunt begins. Fire! An 88mm shell just screams across the field, smashes right through a T-34. Fire! A second one just erupts into a massive fireball. Fire! A third lurches to a stop, its turrets swinging around wildly before another shell finishes the job. We're talking 3 Soviet tanks turned into burning wrecks in just over a minute, and they never even got a shot off in return. But then, the real fight shows up. Over a railway embankment just up ahead, a whole wave of Soviet T-34 starts pouring over the top. We're talking more than a dozen of them, and they just keep coming. Suddenly, Staudegger is facing the main attack, all by himself. So how in the world did he survive this? Well, this is where the Tiger's reputation for being invincible really shines. Staudegger is constantly moving, repositioning his tank like a ghost in the smoke. And when the T-34s finally get their bearings and fire back, their 76mm shells just clang off the Tiger's thick front armor and bounce off harmlessly. And inside, Staudegger is totally cool, calmly calling out one target after another. They even run out of armor-piercing shells, but they just switch to high-explosive ones and keep on fighting. Finally, the surviving T-34s have had enough. They break off the attack and start retreating back over the embankment. But for Staudegger, this isn't over. He makes this incredibly gutsy, some would say insane decision. Leave his covered position and go hunt them down. And here's the result, at least from the German side of things. Before the Soviets retreated, Staudegger had taken out 17 of them. After he went after them, he got another 5. The final score for this one lone Tiger tank? A mind-blowing 22 enemy tanks destroyed. But hold on. Every story has 2 sides. So now, let's go to the other side of that embankment. Let's see what this battle looked like from the perspective of the prey. And you'll see, the tone here shifts completely. It goes from a confident hunt to a desperate, chaotic fight for survival. Right from the very start, the Soviet 26th Tank Brigade was in a terrible position. Their orders were fuzzy at best. Their commanders didn't even have maps of the area. There was no artillery support planned, and their infantry got left behind. They were basically rolling into a fight completely blind. Try to imagine your Captain Leonid Rozhhorodsky buttoned up inside your T-34. Your entire world is just what you can see through a tiny vision slit. The inside of the turret stinks of gunpowder every time you fire. And over all that noise, you hear it. That terrifying, screaming siren of the German Stuka dive bombers as they peel out of the sky. And this slide really just lays out the massive tech difference. The Tiger has better optics, a way better gun, and armor that's almost impossible to get through from the front. Meanwhile, in the T-34, the the commander is also the gunner. I mean, think about that. It's a huge workload, making it incredibly hard to command, find targets, and fire all at the same time. This quote just perfectly captures the feeling of terror and helplessness. Regersdersky is scanning the horizon, seeing nothing but smoke. And then, a flash of light from so far away he can barely even make out the enemy tank. He aims, he fires, but he has no clue if his shell even got close. All while the enemy's shells are finding their mark with deadly precision. One by one, Regersdersky watches his friend's tanks get ripped apart. The radio is just a mess of static and desperate shouts. The whole situation is hopeless. And then finally, a single frantic order cuts through all the noise. Retreat! They throw their tanks in reverse, shells exploding all around them as they scramble for safety. But for many, including Regersdersky, it's just too late. So there we have it. Two incredibly powerful, but totally conflicting stories of the exact same battle. One's about a heroic predator, the other about desperate prey. So now, let's dig into the evidence and see if we can piece together what really happened. The first little crack in this legend appears when you actually analyze the battlefield. Yeah, after the smoke cleared, there were a lot of wrecked Soviet tanks, but post-battle analysis shows that 5 of those wrecks were on the wrong side of the railway embankment, totally hidden from Staudegger's line of sight. He couldn't have hit them. They were almost certainly taken out by those Stuka dive bombers or by German artillery. And this is the key. The German High Command took the total number of Soviet tanks lost in that area for the day, which was 22, and they credited every single one of them to Staudegger's Tiger. But a more careful look suggests those losses were caused by a combination of things. Staudegger's Tiger, absolutely, but also Stukas and artillery. So why would they do that? Well, one word, propaganda. By completely ignoring what all the other German units did, they created this powerful, simple story. It was the perfect narrative to boost morale back home and build up the myth of the invincible Tiger and the superhuman German tank ace. And you know what? The story worked. For his actions that day, Franz Staudegger was awarded the Knight's Cross, one of Germany's highest military honors. Now, what he did was without a doubt effective and incredibly brave, but the legend that grew around it was absolutely a deliberate creation. He actually survived the war and passed away peacefully back in 1991. And all of this leaves us with one last, really fascinating question to think about. When we look back at history, how much of it is what actually happened in the chaos of battle, and how much is just the clean, heroic, and sometimes completely manufactured story that gets told when the guns go silent?